You are listening to Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup by the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the weekly Keep Canada Weird discussion series. If you're new here, my name is Jordan Bonaparte, and in Keep Canada Weird, I'm joined by my pal Aaron Airport to explore the more offbeat news stories that played out across Canada over the last week. In tonight's episode, which we recorded on March 12th of 2024, Aaron and I talk about growing old, dying, and the controversy our past misunderstanding brought to the show's doorstep. We're going to hear about a BC man who's selling homemade coffins on Facebook Marketplace. We'll discuss that troublesome Kate Middleton photo. We'll gasp at the baby birthed on a flight to Toronto. We'll root for that 84-year-old woman who became an unlikely TikTok basketball influencer. And yeah, we're going to continue to unpack the egg/ag gate situation. So let's get into it. Handsome Aaron Airport. We survived our latest controversy. We're here.
I don't know. Is it over yet? Is the controversy over yet? Can we officially say that we've survived?
We're surviving our latest controversy. We're
still here, yeah.
Up to our waist in it, maybe up to our neck in it, but we are surviving. We're fighters, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm fighting hard. You're fighting hard. Just to keep Canada weird.
Seriously. How have you been?
Good. Yeah, just still getting settled in
your new place. Your voice is sounding a little raspy. What's going on there?
Yeah, a little raspy tonight. I had a band rehearsal. I just literally left there a few minutes ago and came home and turned the mic on, and so my voice is a little hoarse because we hadn't gotten together in a really long time, and this was our first practice in a while, and I think I was singing a little too hard.
Okay, well, let that be a shout out to all the vocal coaches who listen to the show. Handsome Aaron Airport needs your help. He doesn't want to blow his instrument out.
Once we get back in the swing of things and I'm singing on a regular basis, it'll be fine. But yeah.
Well, I'd love to hear more about it, but we got work to do here. We got to keep Canada weird by seeking out, exploring, highlighting, and laughing/rolling our eyes at all the weird, offbeat, and unique stories that played out across this great nation over the last week. And we also need to catch up on egg versus egg gate, because that story's far from over. But let's just address the elephant in the room. Many people are tuning in tonight, listening to this episode, hoping to hear the showdown between Aaron and Elaine, but we released the episode. We called out, or you called out, I don't know, called out. You challenged Elaine to a debate live on air. Crickets. I think she's holding true to her word, and I think she's done with Keep Canada Weird and done with Handsome Aaron Airport.
Yeah, I think so. I would like to think so, actually. I mean, some people listen to the episodes later. Maybe she'll catch it, a week or two from now, and we'll hear from her. But it appears, as of now, that Elaine will not be accepting the challenge.
The debate.
Yeah, I don't even know if I call it a debate. It's more of an exploration of potential friendship, Like, we could talk about other things that we have in common, her and I. Like, I'm sure there's maybe food that we both like. I'm sure we could talk about that.
She would quickly realize you're far from the sad, empty, and not handsome guy she thought you were.
I really was looking forward to presenting my physicality to her, presenting how I look to her, and just having her judge that. And just having her look at me through a camera and decide, am I handsome or am I not?
Elaine isn't on the show tonight, but I'll tell you, the listeners, Keep Canada Weird Army, they did step up. They weighed in on egg versus egg gate, and much like last week where we sprinkled criticism throughout the episode, criticism and corrections, tonight I'm going to be sprinkling support and I guess the shaking of heads throughout the episode. Let's start though with Wayne from Borno. I like Wayne's take on it because he has, and this is Wayne's take on egg versus egg gate. I like his take because it's very much like he just sounds like a regular guy who just passed through a bizarre situation, and his take is quite sincere. Listen to this.
Hey guys, Wayne from Borneo again. Just listened to your podcast about the responses to the egg stuff. I heard the podcast. I had a good chuckle, but holy crap, I wasn't going to call in and say anything. And anyway, I just had a good chuckle. And man, some people have thin skins. Have a good one, guys. Good show.
That's about sums it up, right?
It's a very normal reaction, or how people should really react to someone misunderstanding something.
We have it like all sides of the spectrum, though. There are people who are weighing in on egg versus Egggate, or weighing in specifically on Elaine. If she missed last week's episode, she won't want to miss this one because a lot of nighttime and Keep Canada Weird listeners have some thoughts about Elaine. I'll play one more, and then we'll get into tonight's stories.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron, this is Sidney. I was calling in regards to the voicemail that, or not even the voicemail, the post that Elaine made about the whole egg gate. She said that Aaron needs a attitude adjustment. Well, I think that Elaine needs an attitude adjustment, and that she is a sad, miserable person who just likes to take her life problems out on two podcasters who are just trying to keep Canada weird. And she said that Jordan needs an education. Well, maybe she needs to learn some things about human decency and kindness, because she surely doesn't have any of that going for her. I think that you guys are doing a great job, and I love listening to you guys. And Jordan, you don't need an education. You're just silly and goofy, and it's your personality, and that's okay. And Aaron, I love your snarky comments, so don't let anyone try and make you feel bad about yourself, because sounds like she just feels bad about herself. And if she doesn't like the podcast, she doesn't like the things that you guys say, then maybe she needs to take her negativity elsewhere. I hope you guys have a great day, and the comments about the egg thing are just so unhinged, but it'll be okay. Bye, guys.
Wow.
Sydney's right. We're going to get through this. A little offended that she said I was silly and goofy, but we will get
Oh,
through
you're
this.
offended by that? You don't find yourself to be silly and or goofy?
She defended, so Elaine says I'm uneducated. Sydney says he's not uneducated. He's silly and
No,
goofy.
she said you don't need an education.
Okay, so so not that he's, yes, he's
Or you don't
uneducated.
need an education. You're silly and goofy. You've got you've got everything you need in life to succeed.
Oh man, I appreciate the support, and I'm sure Aaron, this makes you feel better as well. Because I know she says don't change from being snarky. You were going to change. You were coming in tonight being like, "That's it. I'm not going to be snarky." Did Sydney change your mind?
Sidney did. I had basically out for the live recording. I had a three-piece suit I was going to put on, and I was going to be dead serious and take this job seriously going forward. But now I'm like, no, I'm just going to be me, like Sidney wants me to be, and you be you. You be silly. You be goofy
And uneducated,
and uneducated, and I'll be snarky and
not handsome.
not handsome.
Let's get into it. We got a whole bunch of stories. We will be back to the listener feedback as we go, but I want to start off with a piece of breaking Keep Canada Weird news. This, I will say, is a bit of a nightmare. Have you ever been on an airplane and had like a crying baby next to you?
Actually, no, I haven't. I've had like much more annoying things, like
Smelly people?
not smelly people, but people who have like their phone out with the volume turned on and no
Oh
like
yeah,
headphones plugged in or anything.
those
And they're
idiots.
playing like all those like gambling games with the
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, the entire flight.
is listening to your clicking as you earn coins or
And they
whatever.
even have the volume turned up. Like, 'cause I remember this one specific flight, this guy, and he was a scary looking guy. So I said nothing to him. But he even had, the sound when you press a button on your phone and it makes like a blink,
Yeah.
blink,
Yeah.
He even had that turn. He had every possible noise that your phone can make blasted at 100 for this entire flight.
Okay. Well, that's annoying, but listen to this one. A flight from the Caribbean to Toronto was diverted last week because of a medical emergency on board. If you're annoyed by crying babies or loud phones on a plane, buckle up for this one.
Well, surprise in the sky for one woman after she gave birth on a plane bound for Toronto. Air Canada says the passenger went into premature labor mid-flight as they were flying from St. Lucia last week. According to the airline, the pilot diverted the plane after the woman went into labor, but she gave birth before it could land in Bermuda. Air Canada says it wants to thank the two doctors who were on the flight and helped the passenger through the birthing process. The mother and the newborn are believed to be in good health.
Can you imagine what that would be like for everybody involved? I've heard of stories like this, but I don't know why when I read this article and watched that news clip, it just hit me how insane and intense that would be. How fortunate was this woman that there were two doctors on board that were willing to birth her baby?
Mm-hmm. Wow, they had no choice.
Well, not even that they were two doctors that were willing, but like how fortunate is she that there were two doctors on board? Like if you're on a plane with, what's on, 150 people? Like what are the chances that there's a doctor there who would have, the skills to deliver a baby?
But I would assume that doctors fly a lot.
Especially from the Caribbean too. They're so rich.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that there is not at least one doctor on the flight.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm happy there was, but
hell yeah.
I'm wondering what the other passengers thought of the whole thing.
I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking what they probably did was move the women giving birth up to the front and maybe moved everyone else down the back or something. Because, there's that front area where you can close the curtains and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think people would agree with that, although there is probably some prick who's like, I paid for this seat.
There's also some jerk that's probably like, geez, I got a connecting flight after this. Like, this is going to mess my entire travel schedule up. And
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of passengers that were extremely inconvenienced by the entire experience.
Yeah, but man, it's memorable for everybody involved. It'd be shocking to be on the plane and have that happen. I don't know. And then for the women giving birth, of course, there's no medicine and the epidural,
horrible.
which soothes you and stuff. There's no nurses. It's wild. I would like to know if anyone listening has ever had an experience. I guess you wouldn't have had an experience like this, but I'd be curious to hear from anyone who has had a very memorable event happen on a flight. I've flown quite a bit and I've never experienced like a diverted plane or a medical emergency or anything like that. But
No, me either. Just loud cell phones. That's the only.
Yeah, just loud cell phones. But yeah, what a trip. A baby born on a plane. Everything seems fine though. All reports are mom and baby are doing well. So
do we know the baby's name yet? Do we know if it has a name like
Mile High Yula? If it's a girl?
Mile High Yula?
Yeah, like Cinderella, Mile High Yula.
Yeah. What are there any plane names that play like Jane? You call her Plain Jane?
Plain Jane. Yeah, it's either Mile High Yula or Plain Jane, I guess, are the two names they could choose from.
That's it.
To answer your question, no, we don't know the name of the baby.
Okay.
What a weird thing to want to know.
No, I'm just wondering if they named the baby after the unique experience that they had delivering this child.
They should have named it after the two doctors. Like first name and middle name would be the doctor's
Sure,
names.
yeah, that would be connected to the experience. I think that would be a great way to honor the doctors that were probably rolling their eyes like, oh, yes, I'm a doctor. I guess I gotta get up
his
and
drink
deliver
down.
your baby.
Headphones off.
I'm on vacation too,
This story is kind of going to set the scene for the rest of the discussion tonight because oddly enough, again, we always find some kind of theme. I think this theme is like birth and aging and death. There's some kind of like circle of life to tonight's stories. Because of course we just talked about a baby on a plane. We're going to talk about Philip the coffin maker. And we're also going to have a story about a grandma who's trying to be a WNBA star. But before we get into any of that, do you want to address the whole situation surrounding the royal family? Like, I guess that's Canadian, right?
It's loosely Canadian. Yeah.
Um,
Our nation has a deep history with the royal family.
yeah, but
And
what is the story now? Like, it seems like I know in England people are really big about the royals and the royal family and Buckingham Palace, and there's some connection to Canada. Like, do they actually own the country or something? What is the story?
I don't know. I hope Elaine is listening and can completely just scream about how uneducated we are. But yeah, there was a connection there, and now it's very faded.
Yeah, well, they're on our money. I know that much.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the royal family and their connection to Canada. Their connection to Canada, but I do know a lot about Photoshop and photo editing software. So I think I'm well positioned to talk about this story. So for people who are unaware, if you've had your head in a hole and have not been on social media for the last few days, a photo was released by the royal family. It was a photo of Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, and it was with her family, and it was released as a way to calm speculation as to her whereabouts. Where I guess she hasn't been seen for several months after like a major surgery, so people are questioning where she is and how is she. She releases this photo of her and her children on the British Mother's Day. I guess they have Mother's Day a different time of year, but instead of the photo release calming speculation about where she is and how she is, it all backfires and only makes things worse. After the photo is published by several major news sites, it is pulled. It receives what's called a kill notice, which is like, get rid of every copy of that photo that we've published because of concerns that it was manipulated.
Prince William attends a Commonwealth service at Westminster Abbey alone today, as controversy encircles his wife Catherine, Princess of Wales. Kensington Palace released the photo, which was the first official picture sent out since her abdominal surgery 2 months ago, meant to put an end to weeks of speculation about her health.
This is a PR nightmare. It's a disaster.
But news agencies began pulling the photo from circulation soon after publishing on Sunday, citing inconsistencies. British newspapers and tabloids now pouncing on the controversy with headlines that read, "Looking great, Kate, but fans spot Photoshop gaffe." The princess issuing an apology herself today, saying in part, "Like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with editing." Eagle-eyed observers have been pointing to some of the potential flaws, including part of Princess Charlotte's sleeve appears to be missing. Catherine's hand on the other side is blurry compared to Prince Louis's sweater. A blurring around Charlotte's knee as well. Also, Catherine's wedding ring, missing from her finger. Despite the apology and admission, Kensington Palace is facing increased pressure to release the original photo.
Have you been following this at all?
Not really. I have to be honest with you. Nothing disinterests me more than the royal family.
You know, I'm the same. I won't say I hate the royal family, but if I see the royal family in the news, you know, the royal wedding or, you know, this happens or that happens, I'm just like, you know, keep scrolling. But for whatever reason, this one sunk its teeth into me. I heard from so many people asking about it, saw so many people that I follow, you know, commenting on it. I had to dive in, and I looked at the photo that was released, and again, it's a photo of Kate Middleton with her 3 children, one on each side and one kind of standing behind her. And even without finding all the weird, like obvious signs of editing happening in the photo, the photo itself is weird. They all kind of have like, one kid has his fingers all crossed in this weird way. Everyone has their legs crossed and stuff. It just looks like an odd photo, but when you really zoom in, you can see that it's clearly like maybe at best a collection of photos that have been kind of mashed together, and it's, you know, then that has led to all this speculation about why would they do that? Like the royal family and like this kind of public statement, like releasing this photo. it's such a big deal. If they were going to edit it for some purpose, you'd think they'd have a professional do it. Whoever did this is not a professional.
Well, she's saying she did it.
Would Buckingham Palace release a photo that she edited herself in such a, horrible way?
Well, they probably looked at the photo and didn't notice those things. I'll be honest, if she would have put that photo in front of me, nothing would jump out at me right away as being unusual. I would just say, "Oh, it's a nice photo. Looks kind of like a Sears catalog photo of a family." And I wouldn't take out my magnifying glass and start hunting for imperfections. I would just look at the photo, not care about it, and move on with my life.
They got to know people are going to do that, though.
People are going to do it because it is the royal family. But I could see why, if the photo was sent from her to, whoever the PR person is that releases that, content, then I could see them. Maybe they're having a hectic day and they just kind of breeze through the photo and they say, "Oh, it looks good, looks nice. Let's post it."
I think the solution is just release like the 1 or 2 or 3 unedited photos that this is a compilation of and just be like, "We're human, sorry." But I think this idea, like the royal family, it's almost like the church or something. It's just this gigantic, wealthy, secretive organization. And I can't help, like the conspiracy theorist in me is like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I guess it's, what are they? I mean, there's lots of things maybe that you'd want to edit. I don't know. You start editing and one edit leads to another, and next thing you know, you look like a dinosaur. I don't know.
Or you look like your arms are detached and out of focus in comparison to the things that are around them. Yeah, it's a it's a unique story. I'll be curious to see where this goes. But I guess like someone like the royals, they would have so many controversies that would come and go. They would just take something like this all in stride. Like Egggate.
Yeah.
Would be
Egggate is
nothing to
way bigger than this.
Oh, bigger. I thought they'd be able to handle it. I was actually thinking about reaching out for advice.
This controversy will last 5 seconds in, the general public's attention span. And then next week, then it'll be something else. So
yeah, we're Egggate. We've been a week now living with this.
Egggate isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We all know that. So every episode for the next 3-4 months will be primarily about Egggate.
Yeah. Let's actually, a listener named Tina, she has some ideas on how we could better understand Egggate and maybe get past it. Listen to Tina's suggestion.
Dang it, guys. You're going to have to call the mayor and ask him what he said. Or maybe fly out there and do an investigative report at Easter. Anyway, thanks for the laughs.
Going down there, maybe it could be useful, but some kind of an inquiry, a public inquiry, I think would be smart, just to get a sense of what Canadians believe an egg-based community is.
Yeah, and a lot of it falls on the mayor's back because the mayor said egg. The pronunciation that the mayor used is very close to egg and not ag, right? So I think it's the mayor's fault. I solely blame the mayor.
Before we get on to the next story, we're going to hear from one more listener. This is actually a listener who is connected to the show as a result of his involvement in the animal uprising. Lawrence was discussed on the show a while back where he was in the news after being attacked by an owl. But Lawrence is here not to talk about the owl. He's here to weigh in on Egggate.
Hello, Jordan and handsome Aaron Airport. This is the guy that was attacked by the owl in Vancouver, British Columbia. I have been listening to your last episode of the agriculture debacle and listened to the very end. And I have to say, you guys are so right. You're just making a podcast. Let the listeners just listen. You guys aren't experts. Jordan, you are educated. And Aaron, I'm sure you're handsome. I haven't seen you. But come on, people, get a life. Like, it was clearly said egg, not agriculture. I can see the mistake. All these people with these really passionate messages about getting it right, and it's like, sorry, just get a life. Anyways, take care. I love your show. I hope no more owls attack me. If they do, we know what's happening, Animal Uprising. And just have a really good week ahead. Bye for now.
Lawrence gets it.
Lawrence, yeah. I really hope he never gets attacked by an owl again.
Mm-hmm.
Where Lawrence gets attacked by owls, we get attacked by Elaine's. You know, it's a similar thing.
And Lawrence came across as a kind of a smart guy with some good insight, probably some life experience. I think it'd be fair to say the owl may have knocked some sense into him.
We don't know what Lawrence was like before he was attacked by the owl. We don't know.
He couldn't have been any better. He's good in my books. I don't think
he's great. I love Lawrence. Yeah.
And well, what I'm getting at is if the owl knocks some sense into him, last week and this week's episodes are our two best. So maybe Elaine knocks some sense into us. So I think that's something we see eye to eye on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next story. We talked about babies on a plane. Let's talk about Philip the coffin maker. Or is it casket maker? I don't know. Philip Thompson of Sidney, BC has found a unique way of dealing with the grief he's endured since the unexpected passing of his 20-year-old son. Philip has been hand-making coffins and selling them on Facebook Marketplace.
It's only in the living room because I moved it out of the porch. I had 2 coffins in my porch for 5 years, and my dear wife, who doesn't quite share my interest in coffins, said one day, "Philip, that's enough, they have to go." I'm Philip Thompson. I'm a regular family guy. I do woodworking. I'm also a commissioner. I can tell you about why I started making coffins. When I was in Canada, I received the news from England that my son had died. He was 20. Nathan Paul Thompson is his name. And it was traumatizing for the whole family. By the time I got to England for the funeral, everything had been arranged. So I had no part in it. A week later, 10 days later, I was back in Canada on my grief journey. Long story short, I thought, I still need to do something for Nathan. I just came to this realization. The people who are losing loved ones would love to have a coffin that was made locally. Perhaps they know the coffin maker and they can participate. I really felt strongly that was the missing word for me. I could not participate in the planning of my own son's funeral because of the distance. And so when I designed this coffin, I designed it with big screws on the corners that you physically can handle yourself, and that's a strong participation in the process of putting your loved one in a coffin and of sealing it. I think this is the 4th one, and the first 2 were sold to a funeral director in Victoria. The 3rd one was sold to a lady because she wants to use that coffin to talk about her own end of life to her family. And this is the final one I have to sell now. And it's come time to sell it for me because I think my own story of bereavement, losing my son at an early age, has now rolled on to a point where I can let this coffin go. I've worked through my grief and love with my hands.
I'm like a bit speechless at that story. I don't know if it's weird or heartwarming or just what, but that's a powerful story. I will say that Philip Thompson may be the most interesting man in Canada.
It's very unusual. I'm trying to understand why coffins is a way to, like, is that like, because he had said his son, like he needed to do something for his son or something, like,
well,
and I see how it's related to the families, like that, like, oh, like you get a coffin that's handmade by this man. There's an interesting story behind it. You're not just buying some, Costco coffin or whatever, but I'm wondering his son, in the afterlife, looking down, someone, this other kind of person next to him is like, do you know what your dad's doing right now to honor you? He's like, oh no, I haven't looked down since I died yet. And then the guy's like, yeah, he's making coffins. And then he's like, oh, okay. That's weird.
I have a feeling that his son Nathan has been through his dad doing all sorts of interesting, unique stuff. You can just tell by the way this man talks that he has like a weird way of going about everything. But what I understand of his motivation, he didn't get he when he left to go to, I think it was in England where his son was, to go to the funeral, like everything was already done quickly because he wasn't there. So he felt like he had no part in making plans for his son's funeral and burial and all these sorts of things. So when he got home, a part of his grief journey involved, so he had a background in woodworking. He started making caskets, but the way his caskets or coffins or whatever were made, it was, so for one, there's the personal story of like this guy from like this local man made it, but also the caskets or the coffins, the way the screws are designed where the top kind of locks down, you would like grab it with your hand and crank it shut yourself, which would allow the parent to take this kind of even greater role, if not symbolic, in like packaging your loved one to be buried. So I kind of like that side of it. I think his telling of the story was amazing, especially that quote at the end, like, I got through my grief and my love with my hands. That's just kind of like, wow, like this guy should be a writer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Normally, like, if you're going to do something like, say, a close relative or a close friend passes away suddenly, and maybe that person was really into guitars. And it's like, then you start building guitars, right? But his son, I'm sure, had little to probably zero interest in coffins before his untimely passing. It's almost more about it's almost a service being provided because his experience, the father, was that of lack of control in the situation. So he wants to provide control to people's lives when they're going through a similar situation, so they can purchase a coffin from him that they're able to have more input into and more story behind it and all of these things.
And I like that.
I like it too. Don't get me wrong. I like it too. I'm just again thinking about Nathan now, wondering, Dad, I had so many different hobbies. I was a golfer, I was a skydiver. I was this and that. And, I loved hiking. Why don't you just go on a really challenging long hike for me?
You may inadvertently created a great segue for our next topic. So this idea of what someone's doing in their later years of life, because I'm thinking of Nathan is probably just happy that his dad is doing something that makes him feel good as he ages. Our next story is also going to involve somebody who seems to be doing something that makes them happy as they're aging. This is another story out of British Columbia. It involves an 84-year-old retired nurse and great-grandmother of 10 who's found fame on TikTok after launching the Grandma to NBA All-Star video series. Dressed in rather flashy gear, Shirley is documenting the trials and tribulations of training for a professional basketball league. But there's much to this story than simple hoop dreams.
It's still dark out when a BC senior arrives at the local rec center to begin her transformation.
Sort of like Superman getting out of the telephone booth.
She's no longer a retired nurse named Shirley Simpson on this court.
What she's dressed in, that like gets people's attention, because when you see a grandma looking drippy
and sounding 24 instead of 84.
I'm out here looking like Jaylen Brown. Heat up real quick like a hibachi. I want to be shooting 80% from the charity stripe.
This is WNBA Grandma.
I just can't believe how this has taken off.
A shock to Shirley, but not her grandsons, who created the TikTok and Instagram series that has now put smiles on millions of faces.
We knew it was a recipe that could work.
They've also gotten the attention of the WNBA and hope someday soon Grandma can bounce her ball into the league's court.
The dream scenario, an invitation to sit courtside during a game.
So to shake their hands and say, congrats, girls, you're doing a fantastic job, and I'm so proud of you, because they've come a long way.
Simpson's also a big Toronto Raptors fan, but this story has less to do with basketball than one family's bond.
I had been looking after my husband a lot, and I was getting out of shape because he didn't do much moving.
Shirley's husband David died last fall, and the boys got busy.
Getting her back in the gym, getting her in the weight room, getting her training.
The two kids she helped raise, now lifting her up.
They just treat me like gold.
I spend more time with her than, pretty much any of my other friends.
And that is why this 84-year-old who lives with pain and has suffered loss is smiling.
Family and being with kids and doing things with kids that's important. That to me is what makes life, is family.
Then this game is already won.
We have a lot of emotional stories today.
I was just thinking that, at the end of that story, where it's like, there's a lot of people dealing with grief in these stories tonight.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just feeling something. Maybe I'm going through something. Perhaps it's the stress of living with egg gate over the last week that has made me kind of realize the passing of time and what's truly important in my life.
Yeah.
But this story, I did dig. I have an aging grandmother. My grandmother's 92, 93. I went and visited her maybe 2 weeks ago. Or a week ago, I had to drop off some Pepto-Bismol for her, and we had a great little chat. I think this story, it's a great way, these grandkids connecting with their grandmother in this unique way, getting her active and getting her out there, getting her talking and engaged. I think this is awesome. I love this story.
This may be an old man airport thing to say, but what is drippy?
Drippy is a new kind of thing that means fashionable and cool looking.
Okay, drippy.
Drippy. I could, if my son was nearby, I'd ask him. But yeah, it just means looks great.
Drippy. Why would drippy mean looks great? I'm trying to find the connection.
Look at this drip. Let's say if you had some great pants on, you'd be like, look at this drip, and show people your pants.
Look at this drip, and then show them your pants. Yeah, that's a really good example, man. Yeah. Look at my
I don't know what it means. I get
Is this real?
In the context of this.
Is this real?
In the context of this news clip, I understand that drippy means looks great, because you see the grandmother all dressed in cool, stylish basketball gear on the court.
She looks great. Yeah. Drippy is not something I've ever heard of before. And I don't often go to Google on this show, but
do it.
I am going to Google, what does drippy mean? Something that is a drippin' or drippy is very cool, awesome, and stylish. It's usually used for clothing and accessories like shoes, watches, and jewelry. And then I'll add now officially pants.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Look at my drip. Air Force Ones, Carhartt pants, and look on the hoodie. Let me get a close-up for you. It's a UFO, because I'm not from this planet. This drip is not of this world. I am from the drip planet known as Clinkleflorb, and y'all don't even know nothing about that, though.
You were right. You have kids. My cat doesn't know what drippy is, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, there you go. But anyway, she looks great. She's active. She's spending time with her grandchildren. She's happy. But will she make the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association? Is this going to end in failure?
I would assume her expectations are just to sit courtside and watch a game. That sounds like what the goal was at the end. So,
okay.
And maybe they'll bring her out on the court, maybe at a halftime situation. Or
just dunk on her.
Be like, wouldn't you? Yeah. And they'll pretend to, guard her or something and try and block her shot, but then she gets it in and everyone cheers.
Yeah. I think if more people can find creative ways to connect with their grandparents and do it in a way that involves like being helpful for them, like getting them active, getting them out, get them socializing. I think this is a TikTok and social media is full of so much crap and dangerous trends and just like socially deprived stuff. That something like this, I think, is like the diamond in the rough. I'm happy about this.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful story, and I hope she makes the WNBA.
Let's get back to some listener voicemails. This one, I believe, is going to be the last listener voicemail about Elaine. Actually, let's save this for a little bit, because this one actually goes pretty hard. So we'll come back to this.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard this.
But before we get to the last message about Egggate and Elaine specifically, we have a duo of Tim Hortons related voice memos that I got. You want to hear these?
Yeah.
If you said no, I would have tried to talk you into it. First, let's hear from, do you remember? This is Heather in Pennsylvania. She wrote or sent in a voice memo maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and she told the story of her small town grocery store being bought by a Canadian, and before she knew it, all of the coffee on the shelves was replaced with Tim Hortons coffee. You remember this?
I do remember that.
We got an update from her.
Wow. Okay.
Here's what's going on now. We called this like the Tim Hortons raid on, her area of Pennsylvania. Here's the latest.
Hello, Jordan and Aaron. It's Heather from Pennsylvania again. I had called before about my small town grocery store being taken over by Tim Hortons. Well, nothing new there. Still Tim Hortons coffee available. However, one time they did have one thing of Maxwell House. But I am calling with more disturbing news. So my husband and I used to travel to a bigger area to do our grocery shopping and, other stuff. It's about 45 minutes away and has like Walmart and Home Depot, just a much bigger area than where we're from. So back when we used to do that, there was one Tim Hortons and 2 Dunkins. Well, we recently made a trip up there again, and first I noticed that the one Dunkins was shut down. Then I saw that there are 2 newly built Tim Hortons. So now there is 1 Dunkin' and 3 Tims. They tried to tempt me by having signs for the creme brulee latte plastered all over the walls. I would not do it. Wouldn't even go in. So this is more proof of how Tim's is taking over the U.S. Again, love the podcast. Keep it up, guys.
We're uncovering a lot of dark secrets between the animal uprising, the mass disbehaving of teenagers, and the Tim Hortons raid on, she says on the US, I would say on the world, because we've heard from listeners all over the world recounting their stories of Tim Hortons weaseling their way into their neck of the woods. We had the woman in, where was she visiting Italy or something? We're on Google Maps. It was a Tim Hortons and she went to it and it wasn't there.
Tim Hortons is a virus and there's a new pandemic coming.
And you know what? Tim Hortons is cruel, as evidenced by the story we talked about last week, where Tim Hortons was testing an experimental new lid on the people of Prince Edward Island. You remember this?
I do.
Well, it's not the first time they've experimented on the people of Prince Edward Island. And we have an insider who's going to reveal all. This is Greg.
Hey, Jordan and Handsome Aaron Airport. This is Greg from PEI. And just wanted to respond to your story about the compostable lids here on PEI and us being a little test market. And for me, I drink black coffee, so by the time it cools down, you really get this beautiful sensation of drinking coffee through a cardboard filter. It's phenomenal. They're crushing it over there. But the reason I called is not to complain about the coffee lids. It's to say that product testing for Tim Hortons and PEI go back many, many years. In fact, I worked there for 11 years when I was in high school and putting myself through university, and we did all kinds of product tests, being a small market and all. And I just wanted to tell you really quickly about my absolute favorite one that I'll always remember, and that was the immortal, the illustrious, the questionable cheddar muffin. So a cheddar muffin was essentially a chocolate chip muffin with no chocolate, obviously, no sugar, and just a squat of shredded cheese on the top. It looked about as appealing as it sounds. And obviously, like, no one who looked at this, even if you love muffins and cheddar, you weren't buying these. Not a chance. But it became a big joke. So, back before suggestive selling was the thing, we would say to our regulars and people we knew, like, oh, you're getting a large double-double there. You want to try a cheddar muffin? I'd show it to them, or they'd see it, and they'd just repulsed. I don't think we ever sold one. But it became a big joke for a couple of weeks while we still had the inventory. People would come in and, yeah, the large double-double. And those cheddar muffins. We'd say, yeah, lots of them. And they'd say, good, keep them. Or, no, I don't want any of those. Or, buy one and just throw it in the trash for me. So it was pretty funny, and they disappeared pretty much as quickly as they arrived, within a week or two, once we were out of the supplies. And it was just another horrendous blunder by Tim Hortons of old. Anyway, love the show, guys, and hopefully they rejig those coffee lids sometime soon. Thanks.
I would try a cheddar muffin.
You know what I would too, actually. Not that I would expect it to be drippy at all, but I certainly...
or have Riz.
Yeah. I'm just going to...
Do you know what that one is?
No.
It stands for like charisma, I think.
What is it? Riz?
Riz, yeah.
Riz, okay. Okay, Riz. I wouldn't expect it to be drippy or Riz related, but I would be interested in, as a pure science experiment perspective, I would definitely try it.
Why would they be Why would they be using Prince Edward Island as a test market? I think
he said
weird.
It was a small market, so maybe they. But I would pick like a part of Prince Edward Island, test it on one half of Prince Edward Island or something, not the entire province, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I appreciate any Tim Hortons insider who's willing to blow their cover by coming on this show and revealing insider details like Greg just did. That was fascinating.
That was a peek behind the Iron Curtain of Tim Hortons.
Maybe the voicemail of the night, but I don't think, but don't count your eggs before they hatched, Greg, because we got 2 big voice memos coming, one after the other. Okay.
All right.
You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
First, let's hear.
I just like to say, the voicemails have been very drippy tonight. Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, there's a hell of a lot of Riz coming through.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Let's hear Kat's take on egg versus egg gate / Elaine gate. And Kat does not pull punches.
Hey guys, this is Kat calling from Halifax. I'm just calling about the whole scrambled egg fiasco, I'll call it. When I first heard the person talking about the egg town, I was really confused as well and assumed it was a town that produces eggs, because that's exactly what it sounded like to me. And I've never heard the term egg town. And I come from a small town in Nova Scotia where they actually do produce a lot of eggs. So I guess you could call us an egg town. Anyway, I'm educated and I've traveled across the country and other places, and I've never heard of ag being short for agriculture. I guess it must be a West Coast thing. So don't feel too bad about it, guys. Also, Lady Elaine can suck a horse's. Thanks. Love you guys.
I'm so glad I don't listen to these beforehand.
Yeah. I rarely do I edit a voice memo, but I wanted to add the beep, not only to protect the ears of the younger listeners, but it does add a great effect, right? I think it's more satisfying.
It makes it better. Yeah. There's a sweetness to it.
Yeah. But I think Kat is on the exact same team as us. I assumed it was an egg, no big deal. Like it was an egg-based town and they made a bunch of eggs, which doesn't sound crazy. Like there's towns that like their whole economy is based on apples or carrots or potatoes. Why not eggs?
Yeah, we're a potato town. We're a carrot town.
Well, PEI is a potato island, like a potato province.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and now, well, I mean, they used to be. Now they're a leaky lids province. I love Kat's name from the start of the voicemail. I love cats. So I have a cat. So right off the bat, Kat won me over. And then to finish it off with that comment just blew me away. I'm often not left speechless, but
here you are.
I haven't heard something that made me laugh like that in a very long time.
Let's listen to the next one. If you feel great now, you wait to hear what Anonymous had to say about you. I'm still researching how to do this, but I want to set this voice memo as the ringtone on my phone, and I imagine you'll want to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Aaron. Hi, Jordan. I just wanted to say I had to stop the podcast right now. I'm listening to it. And I just wanted to say that you guys are both so smart and so funny. Not that you needed to hear it at all. That you're so smart and so genius that the comedy just goes right through some people. And I find it so funny. And I also think that handsome Aaron Airport is so handsome, and he sounds quite handsome as well. Both of you sound very handsome. You don't have to play this. Just keep it for yourselves if you need it someday. Keep it in your back pocket for later. But I love the podcast, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Oh, we're having a great day now. We are.
That was a great way to end it, though, right?
Oh my God. I can't even pick a favorite now. The voicemails have been phenomenal tonight.
You know what it is? I think last week I said anyone who has their voice aired on this show by way of a voice memo, email me at nighttimepodcast@gmail.com. Let me know which voicemail was yours. Give me your mailing address, and I'm going to send some Keep Canada Weird swag to you. Think things like stickers, pins, whatever I have. I have a drawer full of stuff that I can send you, and I will be glad to do that. Maybe me promising that last week is what which really stirred up the hornet's nest of opinion, and
it was more a perfect storm of you offering up some swag and then people being passionate about Egggate and wanting to come to our defense.
And they certainly were.
And they certainly did, and they delivered.
The Keep Canada Weird Army stepped up. Although Elaine may have backed off and decided not to come on the show, or maybe held true to her word and did not listen, but that didn't stop our listeners from stepping up and filling in the void that she created in our hearts.
Mm-hmm. Our uneducated, unhandsome hearts.
But let's start wrapping this up tonight. Anything you want to say or do before we turn the mics off?
I just want people to keep the voicemails coming, even if it's not related to Egggate or Elaine. The voicemails tonight were so good, and I just want to hear more.
Let's list some things you want to hear. I'd like to hear stories about planes or stories taking place on planes from Canadian travelers. Any past Tim Hortons employees were providing a venue for you to share your insider secrets. Absolutely anytime. I would like to hear from people who...
Scary teenager stories.
Yes. Did you encounter them? Did they egg your house?
Mm-hmm.
Did they step out foolishly in front of your car with headphones on, dressed in drippy drab?
Oh, man. I can't believe that I'm just discovering drippy.
You learn something new every day.
Oh, man. This is changing my life. This episode tonight is changing my life. Like, I can now call things that I like drippy now. I can do that.
You're welcome.
Now I can communicate. If I do get hassled by teenagers, I can communicate with them and connect with them on their level. Don't hurt me. I'm drippy. Don't talk in the movie. I'm drippy. What
That's
else
your
do
interactions
teenagers
with
do?
teens.
Yeah, they just
they're annoying in movies, and they like mug you, I guess is what
it's either
kind of
or. It's either they're
role-playing.
talking during a movie or they're taking my wallet.
All right. Well, let's hope neither of those happen to you this week. Let's wrap this up, handsome Aaron Airport. Until next time.
Jordan, until next time.
Join the Keep Canada Weird Facebook group, Aaron. We'd love to have you in there. Just make a fake account with a fake name. You don't need to be a Facebook person.
Well, Jordan, until next time, I don't want to open that Pandora's box again. I don't have room in my life right now. I'm on TikTok all the time, scrolling. I'm on Instagram, scrolling all the time.
Are you making videos on TikTok?
No. I'm just a peeping Aaron Airport.
All right, buddy. We'll get you. We'll get you on there someday. I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird, but let us call out to you for even greater support in this. If something weird happens in your neck of the woods, please let us know. We'd love to hear about it and include it in an upcoming show. As well, if you have any thoughts, opinions, feedback, or theories on any of the topics we discussed tonight, we'd like to hear about that as well. The best way to reach us is by sending a voice memo at nighttimepodcast.com/contact. We're excited to hear from you. Now, before we part, let me end with some thanks. First, a big thanks to Aaron for sharing another evening with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A shout out to the internet's favorite cult leader, Unicole, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the premium feed. Lauren, Ryan, and Miss Frosty, thank you for going premium. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of the show. But the premium feed also gives you the episodes 2 days early, gives them to you ad-free, and gives you access to a full back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium right now at patreon.com/nighttimepodcast. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know why they should listen. We appreciate your support in growing this. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let us know if you see anything weird.
Keep Canada Weird is written, hosted, and produced by the Nighttime Podcast.